So I have had this for over 10 years, since 2014, and I was never able to close it until now.
I think that's it!
How did I finally do it? It's been such a long road. In this video, I'm going to share with you guys the story, the things that worked, the things that didn't, what happened, no gimmicks, no cheating, just grip. Let's get into it. But you gotta focus. So first of all, if you don't know what I'm super excited about, it's closing a specific level of grip trainer, or a specific resistance level of a certain grip training device.
Come on!
And the specific grippers I'm talking about are the Captains of Crush grippers by Iron Mind. If you're into training grip, I assume you already know these. They're pretty popular in the grip training world. But they make multiple levels of these different grip trainers, and their standard set has resistance thresholds from about 60 pounds starting with their easiest guide, all the way up to close to 400 pounds of resistance with their level 4. And there's only like a couple of people in the world who've ever closed the level 4, which is absolutely crazy. Anyways, the gripper that I have been working on closing for over 10 years has been the level 2. At approximately 195 pounds of resistance to close. Now back in the day in 2014, before I even picked up this gripper, I was actually into grip training for quite some time. Anyways, I wish I had the exact footage of me initially getting this thing, but when I got it, I was always trying it at the end of my workout sessions, and my workouts at the time were primarily calisthenics and breakdancing, or b-boying, or power moves, so like these acrobatic bodyweight intensive movements. And that might matter because I might have been a little bit of fatigued when I was trying to close this thing at the end of my training sessions, but every time I tried it, I wasn't even close. I probably had like an inch of a gap left to be able to close this thing fully, and it was like that for the next several years. Now fast forward to about 5 years ago or so, I started to focus more on strength training, muscle building, weightlifting, and one of those things bundled up in there was grip strength.
Oh, you have one of these? What are you working on your grip?
Yeah.
Nice. How strong are you?
That's right, chicks dig guys who train grip. Actually, that's a joke, I don't really know. Anyways, I started to throw in more heavy wrist curls at the end of my workout. Something I actually used to use for more therapeutic purposes in the past, I was now trying to use for strength purposes, trying to get stronger, curl more weight with the forearms and hands. Around this time, I also threw in more grip endurance training. You might remember hanging for 1,000 seconds a day, where I worked on just grabbing to and hanging from a pull-up bar, a tree branch, or whatever, for a total of 1,000 seconds a day. Now this stemmed from the idea of improving grip strength, which I noticed it did, but it also led to the idea and observation of increased wrist girth, which led to the video that gained significant popularity the following year. Now did all these different types of grip training help improve my squeeze strength specifically on the Captains of Crush gripper? Well, I think it did, but not to the point that I thought it would. I mean, I was doing so much volume focusing on grip, it was probably the overwhelming majority of my training mindset for the next couple of years. From training with fat grips to making my own homemade tree branch grips, working on that endurance and squeeze strength, and even seeing noticeable improvements to the size of my forearms and wrist, you would think that my squeeze strength would be going up significantly. And it was, like I said, but still, I could not close the 2. So that is when I decided maybe I need to be specific if I want to close the 2 and really focus on training these Captains of Crush grippers, not just always trying to close the 2, which seemed to be my limit at the time, but I decided to purchase basically the full set up until the 2 and train with the lighter ones, trying to build my strength up so that I could finally achieve my goal. So I did grip workouts like warming up with their guide, which is only about 60 pounds of resistance, moving to the sport, which is about 80 pounds of resistance, no problem there, then going to the 0.5, the 1, and then the 1.5, all which I could close up until the 2. So I guess when I initially bought the 2, I really did buy the gripper right at my limit. Anyways, when I did start training specifically with these new Captains of Crush grippers that I bought, I could only close the 1 and the 1.5 like 1 or 2 times before my grip would fatigue. So working on this over the next several days, I tried to increase my reps per set, closing the 1 and the 1.5 up until I was able to do 5 closes in a row. And at the end of this video experiment, was I finally able to close the 2? no. But I made significant improvements, and you can see I was much closer than ever before. So you'd think because I made this progress in a short amount of time that I'd be able to close the 2 shortly after this experiment. That was not the case. And I ended up losing $20 in a bet with my friend Logan on who would be able to close the 2 first. He got it. Congratulations, man. Good for you. Well, maybe I just needed to keep pushing and training these grippers, and then in the next couple of months, maybe then I would be able to finally close the 2. Was this the case? Well, I do think I got closer than ever, but still, no. And it was at this point I kind of felt fried. Like my central nervous system, my grip, it just felt like I wasn't going to make any more progress if I would keep going down this road. Essentially, I was both mentally and physically exhausted with this specific goal. So I kind of shifted my focus away from this for the next couple of months. And then I went into a bulk, where I did want to focus on various types of strength, including grip strength, but throughout this entire bulk, while I did notice I put on some significant strength in some lifts, I still was not able to close the 2. Now I do have to say most of my grip training and forearm training throughout this time was actually done through wrist curls, but still it did not seem to translate to squeezing the Captains of Crush. From here, I went into a lean out phase, and in between this, I did mess around with some other types of grip training, specifically the rock climbing grips. Check out that video, very interesting. But once again, this didn't translate to making new progress when it comes to closing the 2. And throughout the rest of this year, which was last year, no more progress was made. It really seemed like I was just ultimately plateaued, like it was over. I wasn't going any further, I was only going to regress from here. Like, what's the point? I kind of just didn't even care anymore. I gave up. And along with this, at the end of last year, the beginning of this year, my entire workout regimen significantly decreased in intensity. In fact, I was actually planning on making a video called Stimulate, Don't Annihilate, Training the Lee Haney Way.
Because you gotta stimulate, not annihilate.
Because I felt like this would go along with my decrease in workout intensity. I wasn't really going to failure on any sets, and I thought it would be an interesting topic to explore. However, I felt like my training intensity had gotten so underwhelming and my training volume so low that it wasn't even stimulating. It was like it was so bad. So yeah, I actually completely scrapped that video idea. Maybe something I'll touch on later in the future if you guys want to see. But yeah, my training intensity was just low and my volume was low. And then I went on vacation to Florida where I made that video, completely getting rid of my phone for a week. But during this week, I did not work out at all. It was an entire week off of training, and regarding other exercise, I didn't really do anything. I did the bare minimum other than like a short walk on the beach or playing putt-putt. But after this is where things get interesting. You see, a couple days later after returning from this vacation, I started to get back into training. Now when I did feel refreshed, but I didn't necessarily feel like strong in the major muscle groups. However, after warming up, I wanted to take a swing at the Captains of Crush grippers to just see where I was at. And it was at this point, I almost felt like this increased electrical charge throughout my body. And attempting the 2, just like that, I was within like a hair's distance of closing it.
Oh, it's so close. Oh my gosh.
All of a sudden, I broke through my old plateau and was closer than ever. What was going on? What I'm thinking is maybe just my central nervous system was fried from the years of pushing, and I needed this like 1 to 2 months of lower training intensity and then at least a week off to just fully recuperate my CNS, my body, my energy levels, and actually make strength progress. All which perhaps translated to this like deep base layer central nervous system grip strength. Now while it was great, this noticeable progress seemed to appear out of nowhere, I still wasn't able to fully close the 2. So then how did I go from here to finally fully closing it? Well, it continues down this strange road of what seems like uncorrelated events. Rather than training with these Captains of Crush grippers for the next several days, several weeks, I actually put down all equipment, all weights, and decided to train only calisthenics. That is, training only with my body weight, which is actually the previous video. Check that video out if you haven't already. Now, while I struggled throughout this month to try to get back some of my old calisthenic static skills, I did also work on grip strength with just my body weight. Specifically back to hanging, and this time also just one arm hanging, which I felt like challenged my grip more intensely than with two hands. Progress was made throughout this video. Once again, check out that video if you want to see the exact progress. But regarding this grip journey, after this bout of 4 weeks of only training with my body weight, going back to using equipment, at the beginning of one of my workouts, I wanted to see where I was at with grip strength with the Captains of Crush. And it was here, after over 10 years, that I finally—
You're gonna close today. But you gotta focus.
closed the 2. I could even feel, and you can even hear the metal grinding together as I'm squeezing it closed. But yeah, I almost didn't believe it at first until I reviewed the footage and just thought about it and saw it and was like, I can't believe it. Like, how did that even happen? I wasn't even specifically training to close this for months. In fact, I wasn't even training intensely for months, and I was only training with body weight for the previous month. It didn't seem like it should correlate. Let me know your thoughts and how you think this all formulated to happen.
I think that's it. Oh!
But what I'm thinking is this is just one of those like super deep, long processes. Even though I said I gave up, this goal must have still been deep within me. And after allowing my body and nervous system to just like fully recover and heal, well, somehow, some way, this grip strength that I challenged before came back and came back more. Now, one more thing I must disclose, there is one supplement that I hadn't taken in a while that I just added in 3 days before I finally closed the 2, and that is creatine. But it was only 3 days prior to this, and it was just at a micro dose. Stay tuned for that video. We'll see what happens. But yeah, there it is. I closed the 2. What's up? So I guess the next goal is now to close the 2.5 at approximately 240 pounds of resistance. You hear that, Logan? It's on. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for your encouragement and support. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts once again. I hope you all have a great day. Stay tuned, more videos coming out. Peace. I will see you all in the next video.